Hey guys, what's up? So today I want to talk to you about hamstring strains, an injury that has taken out a lot of athletes out of their sports for long periods of time, and we see a high prevalence of this in sports that involve sprinting and acceleration. The worry is that we see a high prevalence of secondary or re-injury of the hamstring when they return to sport. And we have to ask, why is that? So when we look at traditional hamstring rehabilitation, being at strengthening that hamstring, stretching that hamstring, and then return to running protocols, and yet following these, we still see a high prevalence of re-injury of that hamstring. So we have to ask, what is that missing link? And if we look at a study that we've done, we have included lumbo-pelvic neuromuscular control into our rehabilitation of the hamstring, and what study shows is that there is a reduction in that prevalence of these re-injury rates. So let's talk about what we think the gold standard of hamstring rehabilitation is, which is of course the Nordic curls. The problem with that is that the Nordic curls is a very demanding exercise, especially on a recovering or injured hamstring. And the other big point is that it's easy to negate the lumbo-pelvic control that is required for good outcomes in rehabilitation of the hamstring, whether that is breaking from the hip, pelvic tilt, or extending the trunk when doing so. So for me, a very simple exercise, or at least challenging exercise to the lumbo-pelvic system, as well as eccentric loading to that hamstring, are single leg reverse deadlifts, RDLs. Let me have a look at that. So we're going to look at the single leg reverse deadlift, RDL. I'm going to ask Cara to have a nice relaxed knee on the stance leg side, but then it stays that way. We're not going further into flexion or extension. She's just going to maintain 5-10 degree bend of that knee, and she's going to hinge on the hip, just going down, making sure that she controls that lumbar-pelvic system, that she doesn't open up with the pelvis, as well as not dropping down, making sure that that glute med on that side keeps her from doing a pelvic drop. She's just going to go down until she feels tension in the hamstring. This is especially true when we are recovering from a hamstring strain, and she's just going to transition through this. That tension will happen later and later as we get better eccentric control of that hamstring, as well as that tissue heals through her progression. So looking back at research and evidence showing the high prevalence of re-injury to the hamstring when returning to sport, it doesn't do any harm adding lumbar-pelvic control tasks into the rehabilitation of hamstrings. And no one has ever gotten worse by taking a little bit longer. Rather longer in the rehab than getting back and more time out of your sport. So remember, let's build from the ground up, getting good neuromuscular control, both at the system and systems that it's affecting, and then getting back to sport, reducing that re-injury rate. If you guys have any questions, please shoot them through. Thank you.